So when I heard that Capcom was remaking Resident Evil 3 I was like wow that's awesome, but then the game turned out to be pretty short and there was also Resident Evil Resistance. It is a multiplayer game which can only mean one thing. V-Bucks Resident Evil Edition. So the game starts off with our main character Jill turning off the tap water and then she turns into a zombie, but she has a gun lying around and tries to kill herself. But why would anyone do that? Just try some paracetamol, it always works. But turns out that was all just a theory, a dream theory. But then Nemesis pops in and he's like, hey, you forgot to pay your rent, and then Jill tries to shoot him and he gets pissed and tries to kill her, but she gets away because plot armor. And then we meet Jill's friend, Brad, but he isn't wearing a mask so he's definitely going to die. I fucking knew it. Then you loot a corpse and shoot zombies and then you meet a talking helicopter who wants to help you, so you find your way to the helipad and maybe she should just pay her rent. Then a Chinese knockoff of Nick Fury saves Jill's ass and then he leads Jill to a train station of sorts where they talk about activating the rails, and then you meet Nikolai, a Russian who's definitely not evil, and then voila, she did it, fuck off. Then something happens in the sewers and then boss fight and Jill survives, and barely a minute later a second boss fight starts. It's more of a dodge the laser fight than a boss fight, but I'm gonna call it a boss fight anyways. And then they blew Nemesis up. He can't possibly survive that. Can he? Of course he did, and Nikolai is a bad guy. I totally didn't see that one coming. And then the train exploded and then Chinese knockoff of Nick Fury goes to the police department and finds a doctor who knows how to make a vaccine to the virus, but turns out Jill is in trouble and she survived the explosion. The sheer amount of plot armor that Jill has would make Batman proud. But then Jill has to face off against Nemesis in his second form, and as you would expect, he got his ass handed to him, but he kinda poisons her and Nikolai comes in and stares like a creep. Then knockoff Nick Fury comes to save Jill, but turns out the virus is in her body and he needs the vaccine, so he goes to a hospital and the doctor who knew how to make the vaccine is dead, but there is a sample and he injects it into her and turns out the government will nuke the city. At least that plan makes sense.
Hot! I'm so wet right now!
Then Tyrell shows up and I forgot to introduce him. Well, now he's dead and Jill is in some underground lab and she tries to create a vaccine, but Nemesis still hasn't died, so we blow him up again as if that worked very well last time. And then Nikolai shows up and gets the vaccine and Jill has to fight Nemesis again. Then she kills him and is saved by knockoff Nick Fury, but Nemesis still has to show off his final form and Jill kills him. Hopefully he stays dead. And knockoff Nick Fury got knocked out and Nikolai destroys the vaccine because he's an anti-vaxxer. Then knockoff Nick Fury grabs Nikolai and Jill shoots him in the shoulder and then they leave him to die, and Jill says something about human greed. I'm looking at you, EA.